Hello everyone, this is Shekhania of Shri Venkateswara College of Engineering. So today we are here to learn on the topic of computer networking. In that we'll be learning about service primitives and its services. So moving forward, our main motive firstly we'll see introduction, definition, steps involved, services, explanation of the services and finally the conclusion. So moving forward, firstly, we'll see the introduction of the service primitives. So what is service primitives? Service primitives are the foundation of communication protocol in computer networking. They encompass a set of elementary functions that allow communication between network and entities. A service is formally specified by a set of primitives. Basically, primitives are the operations available to a user or other entities to access the services. These primitives tell the service to perform some actions or report on an actions taken by a peer entity. One way to classify service primitives is divided into them into five classes. There are five classes of service primitives. So, what is the definition and purpose of service primitives? So, service primitives are the predefined function that operate at the interface between the network layer and the higher layers of an OSI model. The purpose is they provide a well-defined interface for the network layer to interact with the layers above, enabling the implementation of communication between the protocols. So basically, it helps in communication between different protocol layers in an OSI model. Moving forward, here is some of the basic example given of service primitives. Here these have used four primitives and it has explained how it works. So first is request, then is indication, response and conform. The primitive is in request, the primitive is transferred or sent into the network layer n to n plus 1 to just request for a service. Next, the primitive in return by layer n to layer n plus 1 to just advise for activation of service that is being requested or the action that is initiated by the service of layer n. The primitive is simply provided by layer n plus 1 in relay to indicate primitive. It might acknowledge or complete action that is previously invoked by indication primitive. So finally is the confirmation. The primitive in written by the nth layer to the resulting n plus 1th layer to simply acknowledge or complete action to the previous invoked by the request. So basically it is a complete request process in which one layer asks for request to the n plus 1 layer. In turn, after completion of layer, it sends an acknowledgement or confirmation setting that the layer or the function or the request is completed. So next, what are the five service primitives that are used are listen, connect, send and disconnect. So listen, the meaning of listen is to block until some process tries to connect. So basically it just blocks the network until we get like the main thing which we want, connect. So connect actively attempts to establish the connection. So basically connection or connect is nothing but we which acts as a connection between two layers. Next is send. Send is just normal thing just to send an information. Next is receive. Block until a data packet arrives. So basically receive thing blocks until the next data packet is arrived. The last is a disconnect. This side wants to release the connection. So what are the steps, like how is this step being done and how is the service protocol action? So let's just see that one. So first the service executes listen to indicate that it is prepared to accept the incoming connection. So listen is nothing but it just indicates that it is ready to accept an incoming connection. Next, the common way to implement listen is to make it blocking system call. After executing primitive, a service process a block until a request for connection appears. A client process executes connect to establish a connection with server. The connect can need to specify who to connect, parameters given to the service addresses. So basically listen is to accept and connect is to connect between the two layers after the listen is prepared. Next is the operation system sends the packet to the peer asking it for connection. Then the client process is connected until there is a response. When a packet arrives at the service, It is processed by the operating system. When a system sees the packet is requesting a connection, it connects and sees there is a listener. So basically, when it sends an request, it sees that if any of the service is like free. So free, it checks for the listener, and it unblocks the listener if it is blocked, and then the request is achieved, and then it sends an acknowledgement. So the arrival of acknowledgement release the client. At this point, the client and server are both in, and they have a connection established. After the listener is unblocked, there is a connection established. The next step for the service is to execute receive to prepare the first request. So the next is the server does this immediately upon receiving released by the listen before the acknowledgement can get back to the client. The receive call blocks the server. The client executes send to transmit a request followed by the execution to receive to get the reply. The application of request packet at the service machine unblock the server process, and it processes the request. After this is done, like after the whole process is done, there is the other last option called disconnect or to terminate the connection. To more easily know about termination, that is a disconnect. So after it has done the work of user send to return the answer of the client, if it is if it is done, it is used disconnect to terminate the connection. So as we know, it uses disconnect. So at initial is a blocking call suspending the client and sending a packet to the server saying the connection is no longer needed. When a server gets the packet, it also issues disconnect of its own acknowledging the client and releasing the connection. When the service packet get back to the client machine, the client process is released and the connection is broken, and the relationship of service protocol. So this is the whole thing in which the connections are sent. It is connected, and then after it the connection is done, after it received, it sends an acknowledgement bit, and then after acknowledgement is done, after a certain time when the program or the service doesn't need it, it just disconnects. So next we will be covering the topic of connection-oriented and connectionless services. So in order to establish connections between two or more devices, there is service in computer networks. So there are two types of service, that is connection-oriented services and connectionless services. So we'll be learning what is connectionless. So connection-oriented service. There is a sequence of operation to be followed by user of connection-oriented. These are the connection is established, information is sent, and the connection. So basically, we establish a connection. Through that connection, the information is sent, and after the connection is received or is achieved or is worked, it just releases the connection. In connection oriented services, we have to establish a connection before starting the communication. When the connection is established, we send the message or the information, and then we release the connection. So the connection oriented service is more reliable than connectionless. We can send message in connectionless oriented if there is error at the receiver end. Oh, okay. So this is one of the advantages. And next an example is TCP, that is Transmission Control Protocol. So we have advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is that connection-oriented service is reliable. They have no duplicate data packets and no chances of congestion, and suitable for long connections. And also sequence of data packets is guaranteed. And some of the disadvantages are this allocation of resources mandatory before communication. The speed is slow, and as much as time it takes to establish and re-establish the connection, so it takes more time, and also the speed of transmission is very slow. And in case of network congestion, if network congestion happens, there's no alternative way to continue the network. Next, we'll be seeing connectionless services. So it is similar to the postal services as it carries the full address where the message is to be carried. Each message is routed independently from the source to destination, and the order of message sent can be different from order of receipt. So this is the main thing we'll be learning about the connection less services. In connectionless, the data is transferred in one direction from source to destination without checking the destination is still there or not if it is prepared to accept the message. Authentication is not needed in this. An example of connectionless is UDP, that is user data protocol. So there's an image, there's a picture which shows how it basically works between two devices, that is device A and device B. Its advantages: these are low overhead and connection oriented services help in broadcast or multicast messages to recipient. In this, there is no circuit setup, thus it takes a fraction of a minute in order to establish a connection. In the case of network congestion or router failure, it has alternative path or data transmission. Next, we have disadvantages, because anything we have advantages, we might also have drawback or any of the disadvantages of ways. These are susceptible to congestion in the network. It is not reliable as there is no possibility of loss of data packets, wrong delivery of packets, or duplicacy in high. So basically, it has duplicacy is high in this. In this, each data packet needs lengthy fields because they are supposed to hold all the way to destination and address and routing information. So these are something we learned about service primitives and connection and connectionless services. Hope you all like it, and thank you.